member of the Homeland Security and Oversight Committee. So, Marjorie, you had a big morning, too. I mean, just a word or two on this Hunter Biden story. I mean, look, I don't care. I want to retire Joe Biden. But the point is, I don't see how his antics help his father or the Democratic Party one iota. You tell me, Marjorie.
I completely agree with you, Larry. As a matter of fact, the antics we saw today are all for a movie being produced. I watched them come in the courtroom as Hunter Biden came in flanked by his lawyers and his business partner, Kevin Morris. But there was another guy there with a camera. You see, Hunter Biden is filming a movie where he's trying to paint himself as the victim, when in fact we know he's not a victim at all. As a matter of fact, he's a criminal. And they sat there listening to our oversight hearing where we're voting to hold him in contempt of Congress until it was my turn to speak, Larry. And that's when Hunter Biden quickly jumped up and the rest of them ran out of the room. And I know he was afraid of my words because I was going to talk about the very serious crimes that he's committed and we have evidence of, which is Mann Act violations. This is human sex trafficking. And Larry, I'll say the irony is blaring. Joe Biden is guilty of human trafficking with his border policies, and his son Hunter Biden is guilty of human sex trafficking, and we have the receipts.
Hunter Biden's lucky nobody brought the sergeant of arms out and just, cuffed him and throw him in jail. I mean, he's kind of, it just, you're right about these crimes, of course, but my thought here is, if I were a Democratic Politico, which I'm not, obviously, but I wouldn't want him parading around with this sort of arrogant, in-your-face attitude, almost boasting of the stuff. I mean, he's been charged, right, with tax evasion. He's been charged with gun problems. He may be charged with foreign, not registering as a foreign agent. The list goes on and on. I mean, he's put himself out there. And I don't think this is going to help him, not going to help his father, not going to help swing state Democrats. I mean, it just makes him look like a damn fool.
You're absolutely right. And he did look like a fool today. I think he looked like a toddler pitching a temper tantrum because he got caught and he's in trouble. He evaded our subpoena, which we need to remind everyone. President Trump's kids, Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, all had to come in and sit for hours under Democrat subpoenas, and they obeyed the law. But when Hunter Biden evaded his subpoena, breaking federal law, it was Congressman Swalwell who helped him do it by reserving the press conference, and that's where Hunter went. And we're voting to hold him in contempt. But you want to know something, Larry? The real test will be for Biden's Department of Justice. Will Biden's Department of Justice prosecute Hunter Biden when we hold him in contempt of Congress? And I'll argue, I bet we'll see the same hypocrisy and two-tier justice system from Merrick Garland and Biden's Department of Justice, because Joe Biden will do anything to cover up and protect his family from their crimes and corruptions. And Merrick Garland is nothing but a Biden lackey that is abusing the power of the Department of Justice.
The way they went after Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. In fact, they put Navarro in cuffs, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. They prosecuted Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, and we'll see, will the Department of Justice prosecute Hunter Biden, the son of the president?
Yeah, I wouldn't hold breath on that, but you're going to make a good point. Marjorie, Congresswoman, what's up with the Orcus hearings? I've noticed that the leadership is really coming around now to the Orcus hearings. I was reading an op-ed piece by Tom Emmer talking about law-breaking, malfeasance, unrestrained flow of migrations, not securing the border, certainly not protecting American sovereignty or security. I mean, I think, I don't know how this is going to work out, but the case against Mayorkas seems to be growing. You were very early to this game. What do you think now?
Well, as you remember, Larry, I forced a vote on the House floor before Christmas on impeaching Mayorkas, and it exposed 8 Republicans who voted with the Democrats to protect Secretary Mayorkas and protect his job. And I tell you what, those 8 Republicans in our entire conference heard from their constituents and Americans all over the country is they were outraged. They want Secretary Mayorkas impeached. This is a #1 issue all across the country. People are sick and tired of the border invasion. They're sick and tired of illegal alien crimes, and they're sick and tired of having to pay for all of it as American taxpayers. And this is hurting Democrats in their races all across the country, but it also put pressure on Republicans, and that's why you're seeing leadership in our entire conference unite around the very fact that we must impeach Secretary Mayorkas, and we must do everything we can to stop the border invasion.
So the committee will go through investigations, as I understand it, try to build a case from the bottom up, in effect. Is that the game plan? In other words, not just willy-nilly, the way the far-left Democrats kept going after Donald Trump, but build a solid foundation, a solid investigation this year. Is that about right?
That's right, Larry. It's not impeachment theater, as Democrats on Homeland accused us of today. I serve on the Homeland Committee, and I can tell you right now, our committee has been serious this entire Congress. We've led an investigation that has produced staggering statistics and proven that Secretary Mayorkas is guilty of breaking U.S. border laws, and this is why he must be impeached. And we have taken our time. We have worked through all of it. We've been through 5 phases. Now we're at the end where we are going to wrap it up through the rest of this month with our impeachment hearings, and we will be working up articles of impeachment through the Homeland Committee, and that's because of the vote I forced on the House floor. It moved my articles of impeachment out of Judiciary into Homeland and is allowing us to be able to impeach Secretary Mayorkas through the Homeland Committee and then bringing it to the House floor for a vote.
Marjorie, this is a little off topic and maybe it's a little off color, but you're from Georgia, and we were reporting last night at some length about this crazy story of Fanny Willis, who's running this anti-Trump operation, the racketeering charges, and she's got herself a boyfriend. One of my lawyers called him a paramour. So she's got herself a boyfriend, allegedly, paid him $650,000, allegedly, took off for a couple of cruises, went to Napa Valley for a glass of wine, came back for a little fun in the sun in Florida, and now some people are saying, and some of the people who are under charges on this whole racketeering charge should be thrown out because of her bad behavior and the bad behavior of her so-called prosecutor, who's never prosecuted. And last point, Marjorie, before you, it turns out this guy was getting paid. This is a guy who's never prosecuted a ham sandwich. But it turns out part of his consulting payment was consulting with the Biden White House, okay? So there's another example of how they're pulling the strings on every single thing in their legal war against Donald Trump. Anyway, Fanny Willis and her boyfriend, what's going on down there in Georgia?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me about it, Larry. I just got finished penning a letter to Governor Kemp and our Georgia Attorney General, Chris Carr, where I am asking for them to investigate for criminal investigations into Fanny Willis and her boyfriend, Nathan Wade. I can tell you right now, I'm a lifelong Georgian, and we are sick and tired and fed up with Fanny Willis using her Fulton County position and Fulton County tax dollars not to prosecute real criminals, but to go after Joe Biden's top political opponent, which is President Trump and other co-defendants in their entire effort to claim that we shouldn't care about elections when absolutely elections are one of the most important things we have in this country. And so I'm recommending criminal referral to Governor Kemp and Chris Carr against Fanny Willis and her boyfriend. She's taking Fulton County taxpayer dollars and she's paying her boyfriend nearly $700,000 while he takes her on lavish vacations, not only in this country, but internationally as well. You talk about pay to play. And then he is invoicing her office, which is the Fulton County taxpayers, saying that he somehow worked 24 hours in one day. I'm sorry, that is corruption, and that is an absolute lie. Not only that, he was sent up and he met with the Biden White House as he is planning to prosecute President Trump. We know exactly what this is. I'm calling on Governor Kemp and our Attorney General Chris Carr, investigate and prosecute Fanny Willis and end this witch hunt immediately. It's outrageous.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, have I wished you Happy New Year? I think I did not at the beginning of this wish you Happy New Year. Thank you for all the things you do.